What's up everyone, welcome to Motobeto82. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, and in this channel I share my experiences with you all. In today's video I'm going to be doing the 7,500 mile maintenance cycle on my Suzuki GSXR 600. So let's get started. So first things first, putting your bike up on stands is probably a good idea. It's not necessary, but it definitely facilitates the whole process. So first, I'm gonna get the bike on the rear stand. So there's some spools that you would install. They don't come included in motorcycles, or at least not that I know of. So once you get the grooves in the spool, you just lift up. And there we go. And then there's a plug in the front. So this particular stand has a little knob right here that there's a hole up here that it goes into. And you just have to line up that hole. And then lift. The next thing would be to take the fairings off, so I'm going to start working on that. First, you want to take off the seat. So there's two bolts, one on each side that you just take off. And what I like to do is put down the tarp on the floor. That way I can put all the pieces. One thing I forgot to mention is before you take your bike apart, you probably want to wash it. That way you can get all the dust off of it. That way you don't get any dirt or dust inside the engine whenever you do the maintenance. So that's a good idea to get in the habit of doing that before you do your maintenance. It's just nothing too crazy. Just, you know, wash it off. You don't have to go over and above with the cleaning. But then let's take this bearing off. All right, so now that you have both of the fairings off, next thing you want to do is lift the tank. And we're in the middle of summer here in Texas, so if I'm sweating profusely, that's why. And now that you have the bike in this position, you can start doing the maintenance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just basically go down the line on the service manual. I'll show all the items I'm going to do here, and then just start at the top and work my way down. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do for the maintenance is inspect the air filter. I don't have to replace it unless it's really bad, so I'm just gonna check it to see how it's doing. So to do that, there's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws. 7, 8. Well, actually, there's gonna be 6, 7, 8, 9 screws I have to take off, and then I have to unplug this part here. So take this off, take this off here. And then plug that. And I'll do this hose. Hard to film and do, well, it's not hard, but it just takes a little bit more thinking about it. Okay, so it's off, take that off. Now let's unscrew. So there's where the air filter goes. This is the air filter here. Just take a look. So you can see this air filter is pretty dirty. I don't know if it's to the point where it's like an emergency, or if I should just wait till next time. But I'm just gonna try to clean it a little bit. I'm just gonna try to go in between each grooves and scrape some of that off. And this is not a type of air filter that you can wash and then grease. So like I said, I'm not gonna replace it yet. One, I don't have one on me, and two, it doesn't look like it's to the point where it's really bad. So I'm gonna clean this off. You don't want to blow air through it. You don't want to get it wet, not this kind. Just go in between the grooves here and try to clean as much as you can without damaging it. All right, I don't know if you're able to tell a difference, but I went in there in between each and every slit and tried to take out every little piece of bug or dust that was in there, and then just tap it down on the ground like that, and it comes out. So I got a lot of junk out of there. I know you probably can't tell much difference, but there was a lot of debris and stuff in there. Getting a new air filter is definitely priority number one right now. I might wait to the next maintenance cycle or just speed it up. And next time I have a chance, I'm going to get one of those air filters. All right, and the next thing I'm gonna do is just get in the air box just with water and a towel and just clean in there. Guess you don't necessarily need to do this, but I like to do it just so it'd be nice and clean. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do on the maintenance is going to be replace the spark plugs. So I'm gonna have to remove the whole air box to get to that. In order for me to do so, I'm gonna have to take off this little plug right here, and then each butterfly valve on the throttle body has a little clamp that holds the air box together. So I'm gonna have to remove that, each and one of those with a long screwdriver. Then I'm gonna have to remove another hose on the other side of the air box, and that should do it. Okay, now that I have the air box out, here are where the spark plugs go. But before I do that, I'm gonna put some towels in the valve so I don't get anything in there. Okay, and while I'm here, I'm going to wipe some of this stuff off. All right, so I'm gonna do number 1 here. There we go. So this is the coil to cylinder number 1. And this is what your coil looks like. So this is what connects to the spark plug. And this is to the wiring harness that feeds the signal for the spark. So now, gotta get the spark plug out and replace it. All right, and these spark plugs, you're gonna wanna use a 5/8 adapter. Shouldn't be too hard to get it off. Got the first spark plug out. Doesn't look too bad, but it's time to change them anyway. So these are the spark plugs that I'll be using. They're the NGK, and they are the CR9EK, part number 4548. All right, so got cylinder number 1 in. So now we move on to cylinder number 2. Here's spark plug on cylinder number 2. I mean, it obviously it's time for a change, but it doesn't look bad. Looks like cylinder number 2 is operating correctly as well. No issues there. All right, so now cylinder number 3. Here's spark plug number 3. Nothing. This one's a little wet. Smells like gas. Maybe it's getting too much. I think cylinder 3 is getting a little too much gas. It's a little rich. All right, now cylinder number 4, and we're done with the spark plugs. Spark plug number 4 doesn't look bad. All right, and that's it for the spark plugs. Got them all 4. All right, so next up on the maintenance list is the exhaust control valve, which is right here. There's the exhaust, and the valve is right before it. This kind of controls the back pressure of the exhaust. Helps with popping and helps also regulate, or despite meet, I guess, the EPA regulations. Some people say that it's not even worth having on here, but anyway, that's a different story. So this valve is controlled by a motor that, if you follow the lines, it goes all the way back to the back of your bike, and the motor is in here. So basically the maintenance is just making sure that it is working properly, but I do have a FI light on, and it's code 46. So that tells me that that valve is not working properly. So I already know that it's faulty. You know, sometimes it's on, sometimes it's not. So I'm just going to kind of do a little bit more research to see if I just want to take that whole thing off or leave it on. I'm not sure what I want to do with it yet. So as of now, there's really nothing for me to do on that for the maintenance, since I already know that it's faulty. But as far as fixing it, I'll make another video some other time. All right, now that the oil is changed, just wipe off everything. That way you can, not change, but drained, I meant. Wipe off everything, that way whenever you fill it back up with oil, you can kind of check to see if it's leaking or not. All right, so now we're gonna fill it with oil. Should take 2.5 quarts, but from my experience, it's probably gonna take a little bit more than 2.5 quarts. And there's a little window at the bottom here. And there's 2 lines. And you kind of want to, not 2 lines, but a line. You kind of want to keep it right at or a little bit under that line. So it's not even showing yet, so we'll keep pouring. There we go, now it's starting to show. It's right at the line right there. But what you want to do is turn on your bike, let the oil circulate a little bit, and that's gonna go down a little bit so you can kind of top it off again. Kind of just wait a little bit, let the oil settle back down, and then we just top it off one more time. Yeah, see, now it's not even showing. See, it takes a little bit more than Actually a lot more than 2.5. All right, and that's it for the oil. All right, so now that the oil and the oil filter is changed, the next thing on the maintenance schedule is to check the fuel line. So obviously this is the gas tank right here. This is the fuel pump, the bottom of the fuel pump. So basically you just got to check, you know, these joints here and this hose, make sure there's no cracks or any damage. It's pretty common sense that if there was damage to these fuel lines, you would be able to smell gasoline. So once this hose goes to this junction, it turns into, I think it's aluminum, or yeah, or steel. I'm not sure what this is. But then these lines are pressurized and it feeds into the fuel injectors. So there's 4 fuel injectors, 1, 2, 3, and 4 that go into each valve. So yeah, everything looks good with the fuel. And like I said, you would be able to smell fuel if you had a leak or damage. Okay, so the next thing on the maintenance schedule is to check the idle speed. The idle speed is, it's on the left side of the bike. I don't know if you can see this screw right here. So it's literally right below that screw, and it's a screw itself, and you just twist it either to the left or to the right if you want to increase or decrease your idle. This bike doesn't need to be adjusted. The manual suggests that you be around 1300 RPMs plus or minus 100. And so you can see here what the idle speed is. Let me just get that shot first. I think it's right around where it needs to be. All right, so we can just turn it on so you can see. So right there, it's idling fine. No need to do any adjustments to it. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do on the maintenance cycle is the throttle valve synchronization, and you're gonna need a tool like this one. This is the Motion Pro. It's the Sync Pro 080411, and it helps with the throttle, getting those syncs, the valves. So that's the tool you're gonna need. And then you're gonna need it to do 2 things. One, you're gonna have to disconnect the sensor right here. This is the IAP sensor. And then for each for each throttle body, there's a vacuum hose that you're gonna have to disconnect. So each one has it, and I'm pointing it right there with the screwdriver. It's underneath each throttle body. It's at the very bottom. There's like a little nip on it, and you just disconnect it and connect your Sync Pro tool to it. All right, so now that you get all the hoses connected to all the different throttle bodies, you can go ahead and get the engine started. I forgot to mention that make sure you warm it up first. That way it's warmed up when you do this. And then just start it up. All right, looks like I got it. Now it's just going to be a matter of disconnecting all the hoses, and then connecting the OEM hoses, and that's it. All right, the next things on the maintenance schedule are the pair valve air system. And I'm not gonna do anything for that. Basically, there's some hoses you have to check in there, which I have inspected to see that they're okay. There's a solenoid in there as well. Basically, you just gotta check the resistance, make sure that it's working well. And then there's some gaskets inside this. You have to get inside the cylinder head, which I'm not gonna take apart my cylinder head. So I'm just not gonna worry about that. Okay, now I have everything built. I got the airbox on there, so everything's set. The next thing I'm going to go over is the clutch and the brake, and also the throttle cable play. Make sure that it's to spec, and I'm also going to spray some lube in them. All right, so as far as the clutch, as you can see, there's just a little bit of play, which is just about right. So I'm not gonna do any adjustments to it. Same with the brake. There's hardly any play. Throttle too, there's really hardly any play in it, which is what you want. So there's not much to adjust there. So all I'm gonna do is just spray some lube and call it a day. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do is change the radiator fluid and also check all the hoses, make sure that they're not cracked. Check the other side, make sure everything's looking good. All the hoses look good. Now I'm just going to drain the radiator. And to do that, I'm just going to unscrew this right here, and I'm gonna open up the radiator cap, let the air flow through. See if I can do this without making a mess. And the engine is still hot, so I don't want to burn myself either. There we go. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it with some distilled water in there, run the engine for a little bit, and basically just clean it out as much as possible. Oh shit. All right, so the water's coming out clean now, so got all the gunk out of there. So I'm just gonna let it drip a little bit more, and then gonna put the hose back on, tighten it up, and I'm gonna fill it up with some engine ice. Yeah, that's what I've been putting in my motorcycles, and I like it. It works. It's non-toxic. All right, now once everything is filled, just make sure that there's no leaks. And that's it for the coolant. All right, guys. So the next thing to do maintenance is going to be the drive chain. Make sure that the sprockets are good, the chain is lubricated or clean lubricated, and that the slack is not too bad. I'm going to hold off on that because I'm going to wash the bike after I get done with this. So I don't want to lube it up and then go wash it and have to do it again. So that's part of the maintenance cycle. The other part is to check your brakes. You know, make sure that the brake pads are good. Make sure that the fluid, you got to change the fluid this time around. But I just recently, there was a recall on the master cylinder in this particular model. So I just recently got that done. So the fluid was changed on both the front and the back. And while I was at it, they checked my brakes, they checked the lines, they checked the calipers, the brake pads, and everything checked out good. So I'm not going to recheck it. The other thing you want to check is your forks and your steering. So you want to make sure that, you know, the fork seals aren't leaking, that there isn't any unusual wobble on your forks. You also got to check the steering column right here. You know, make sure everything is, like I said, there's no unusual play and everything is straight. Also check just visually inspect the rear suspension as well. Make sure there's no leaks and that everything looks good there. And then something I already did, so I'm not going to bore you with putting in a video, is just tied in all or torque all the bolts. I'll put a chart as far as, you know, what the specs are on the video. That way you can do it. But I didn't think that was something that I needed to, I guess, put on here and have y'all watch me torque nuts. So but yeah, that's the other part of it, and that's it for the 7,500 mile maintenance cycle. The only thing that's left for me to do is put it back together, put the fairings back together. Then, like I said, I'm gonna go wash it, then do the chain. I'm gonna clean it, lube it, and that's it. But thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and take it easy. Peace.